Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Miller coming to you for the DeKalb County Library. And we are in the midst of Greek Heritage Month, and I wanted to continue with that focus. I have some really special beads that I got from Greece, metal beads that are beautifully cast and marked. I've used some of them before, but I wanted to bring them back out. I have used them in a class, and everybody just loved the markings. They're just so different, and you'll be able to see them better when we get down here to the mat. But I wanted to do something that just had the metal beads. I've got different colors. I've got gold, silver, bronze. Um, do I have copper? And I wanted to share those. I have a lot of them. I had um, the great fortune to buy out a supplier that was retiring. And so I got thousands of them. So it's time for me to share. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a necklace that uses these metal beads. And I wanted to tell you that you can use that for something like this. This is kind of an upcycle. Some of these beads came from already made items. They sent me some earrings that only had one earring, and I and bracelets that might have a clasp that was broken. So I took them apart, and we're going to be using the beads that came from that. I'm also incorporating some standard spacer beads that you can get anywhere. I wanted you to know that you can do this piece with any metal beads. You don't have to have anything space special. You don't have to go to Mykonos to get them or anything like that. You can make this beautiful piece without any special beads, just metal. And they don't even have to be metal. It's up to you. But what we're going to do is use a combination of beads, some 24 gauge wire. I'm using 24 gauge wire because it's thinner, and the metal beads are a little heavy. So that doesn't add as much to the weight. We're going to be using a length of chain and one head pin because I'm making a drop, and the bottom one I decided to use a head pin for that. You'll need your usual. Oh, and I'm also using some tube spacers on the focal piece that we're going to be making. And we need some memory wire. The list keeps getting longer. So you'll need some necklace memory wire. I just used about 2/3 of a circle of necklace memory wire. And then you'll need your usual tools, your round nose pliers. Their barrels are round all the way around. They start a little wider at the bottom and get a, a little pointier near the tip. The square nose pliers are slightly rounded on the outside. They also start wider at the bottom and taper up to almost a tip at the end. You'll need a pair of regular wire cutters. And for the memory wire, you will also need a pair of memory wire cutters. I really suggest that you get these if you're using memory wire. It's very rare that I suggest anything other than your regular starter tools. But if you're using memory wire, you really need these because cutting the memory wire with your regular cutters will ruin your cutters. Memory wire is tempered steel, and it's very tough. So might want to invest in these if you want to do a lot of memory wire work. So you'll also need a ruler. And of course, I told you the 24 gauge wire. And that's it. Let's go ahead and get down to the mat and get started. Okay, I'm going to start with my memory wire. I've got about 2/3 of a loop of memory wire. You may need to cut some off, and it really depends on how many beads you're going to put on this. So we're going to go ahead and take this piece of memory wire. I'm turning it so that the ends are facing down. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers, and right here in the middle, you can measure it if you want to, or you can eyeball it if you're comfortable doing that. Right here in the middle, He's over here. Right about there. I'm going to put my square pliers. Okay, and my loops are turning up now, but what I'm going to do is put a bend in the wire. I'm going to bend it away from the tips. So I'm just going to, right here at the tip, I'm just going to bend one side down, just like that. So this is what I have. Looks like some wings or a half of a heart shape. Okay, by the time I finish, it's going to look more like wings because I'm going to probably cut some of this off. But this is what I have. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is put something on it. I'm going to fill it up with some beads. So this is the way it's going to go. For me, if you want to turn it up the other way, that's fine. This is the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to start putting some beads on this side. And I've decided that I'm going to put one of my little spacers on here, or two of my little spacers. These are my little tube spacers. A couple of these little round beads and a couple of these metal beads. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of these little round beads because I want something down here in the little V to fill it in. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to add one of my tubes. I'm going to add another one of these little beads. And another reason I'm using these little beads is because the holes in these beads that I'm using are big enough so sometimes they can slide through my little tubes, and I don't want that. It's not doing it for this, but some of the beads that I have that I'm giving have bigger holes, and you might not want to use this one. You might want to use a different bead on there that has a bigger hole and will slide. Let's see if this one does it. That can slide into, that doesn't. This one does. That can slide right into my tube. My tube can slide right into the hole. And I don't really want that. So I'm using one of these little guys, these little 3mm. I've got 3mm. You can use 4mm. You can use some of the other beads, whatever you want. I'm using that as a little buffer. So I'm going to put this little guy on. I'm going to put another one of these little beads on. There we go. And my little tube. And another little silver. Get them there. Yeah. There we go. I think that's what I want on that side. Yeah, I like that. Let me see. Do I want to add anything else? What else have I got over here? I've got these little beads. I think I like that. I like the fact that this is copper colored because I've got silver, I've got gold, I've got copper. I think I'm going to go with that. Yeah. So yeah. So this is going to be one side. So I'm going to cut this down to about 1/2 inch on the tip so that I can put a loop in it. And I didn't need all of that. That's okay. Cut that down to about 1/2 inch. Hold on to that end and hold on to my beads because this will go flying off. And I don't want either one of them to disappear. There we go. And let's make a loop on this end. So I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. Don't need too big a loop, so I'm going to slide it about a quarter of the way down my pliers with the wire. And I'm going to make a loop going in the direction of the curve. So this is the way my loop, my curve is going. I'm going to continue that with a loop. So I slide my wire in between the prongs of my pliers, make sure that the tip is not protruding from the back here. And then I'm going to make my loop. Now this is memory wire, so it's very, very strong. So you're going to have to really get a good grip and use your muscles. Okay, so I'm going to turn. Notice how I put my finger up here. It just gives me a little bit more control, I feel like, when I'm doing this loop. Open, reposition my pliers, turn, open, reposition, and turn. I also use my thumb to kind of push the wire together. So I'm doing several things here, turning with my plier hand and squeezing with my other hand. Okay. One more good turn and you'll be finished. I just want the tip of my wire to touch the rest of my wire. Let's get another good turn in there. Here we go. So there's one side, all ready to go. Oops, come back. And let's do the same thing on the other side. Slide my little round bead on. And if you see that your bead that you're using will not slide into the bead, you do not have to use one of these little round beads. That's entirely up to you. You don't even have to use the beads that I'm using at all. You can use any of your beads. You can put more than one bead on here. This is just my design. I'll come back. Here we go. Get in there. Put my little bead on. Another round. And another two. One more little bead. I really only needed about half of a loop, didn't I? Yes, but that's okay. Better to have too much than too little. I say it all the time. Okay, let's cut this end down to about 1/2 inch. Hold on to everything. Cut that off. Waste. Oh well. Grab my real nose pliers. Again, don't need too big a loop. About a quarter of the way down. Like I did on the other side, make sure that the tip's not sticking out. Ooh, see how strong that is? It is going to rebel. You just have to show it who's boss. One more good turn should do it. And I want to make sure that this tip is resting against the rest of the wire. I don't want it overlapping. I don't want it out to the side. It needs to be backed right up against that wire. Okay, and there is my little piece. Straighten it out a little. It's popping up. So there's my little focal piece. And now I'm going to make a drop that comes down. Comes down the center. Yeah, but that's cute so far. You can't see it, I'm putting it on. It's got a little heart shape. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little drop that's going to hang down. So for that, I'm going to use some of my little beads. I'm going to show you kind of a fancy wrap that I'm going to do first because I want to do something just a little bit different. So I have a little bead that I wanted to use. Where is it? I had it. Where'd you go? Is this it? Yeah. Okay. So I have a little bead that I wanted to use in the middle. I wanted to make it a fun wrap that it's only one bead and I need it to not get lost between these other bigger beads because I'm going to do some stacking beads and things like that. So I'm going to do a special wrap for this one. In fact, I think I'm going to use a different one. I think I'm going to use, no, I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to grab a piece of wire and I'm going to need a good, let's see how much do I need? About 10 inches because I'm going to make a funnel wrap. So about 10 inches of wire. Cut that off. Okay. And then I'm going to measure a little less than 5 inches down. This only takes up about maybe a quarter of an inch of space. So that should be okay. So maybe about 4 7/8 of an inch from the end. Like that. Then I'm going to put a bend in my wire, like so. And I'm going to make a loop. And I'm going to make a nice sized loop. So I'm going to go back here about 3/4 of the way to the back of my pliers. Slide my wire down right in between the prongs. And then I'm going to bring that piece of wire over the top of my pliers and down the side until it's parallel with the other wire. And then I'm going to hold on to my wires, open up my pliers without shifting the wire, reposition them, clamp back down, and then bring the tail of that wire under and across the pliers so it's out to the side. So this one's down or straight down or up, and this one's out to the side. Then I'm going to switch to my square pliers, and I'm going to make a funnel wrap. Let's get that down there where it's right in the middle. So then I'm going to take my square pliers. I'm going to put a wrap right here at the bottom of my loop. And the tail I'm going to bring up over the first wrap because I'm going to be wrapping up towards the top of my loop instead of down the stem like we usually do. So I'm going to wrap that around. First wrap, this one's over above that one. I like to turn it around so I can see what I'm doing. Bring that wrap over and turn it around again. I'm going to bring this down a little bit closer so maybe we can get a better view. Okay, I'm going to bring that around. Now notice I'm just kind of folding it over. I'm not pulling the wire because if you do that, you run the risk of squeezing your loop and I don't want to collapse it. I just want to fold this around and start building a little bit of a funnel up here. Let's turn it so I can see where my wires are going. Bring that around and you can see what I'm building up here. Turn it. Straighten out a little. There we go. Bring that tail around across the top of my loop. Turn it. bring it across. And I'm going to do this as many times as I want to wrap. The only rule here is that you have enough space at the top to get your next, to attach your next link. So I think I can do a couple more. Bring that across. And I'm going to do one more in the back, and that's it. Or on the other side. Haven't decided the front and back yet. Push that down nice and close. Bring that across. There we go. And I think that's enough. Yes. That will do it. So now what I need to do, let's put this. Yeah. So now I need to just cut this tail off. Squeeze this nice and close. So I'm going to cut the tail of this off right in the middle of my loop because I want to push the little end down inside this funnel. Okay. Wrap my clippers, and I like to put my thumb there so that I don't accidentally clip one of my other wraps. Looks like it's a little mummy, doesn't it? Little mummy wrap. I clip that off. Grab my square pliers. You can use your fingernails. This 24 gauge is so soft and malleable. I could probably use my finger to push that down, but saving your manicure, if you want to save your manicure, use your pliers and just push that down right inside my little funnel. And there we have one half of my wrap. I'm going to do this on the other side too. Straighten up my little wraps to look the way I want them to look. Yes, isn't that cute? Let's do the other side. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to put my bead on. See how this is going to extend my bead? Just going to make it look that much bigger. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to bend my wire right here at the very top of the bead. I don't want space in there. Just right there at the top. And I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. Now, the problem that you have with having that bent like that is you've got a bead in the way. So if I put that in there, I'm going to have a space. Let's see if I can show you. I'm going to have a space in between my pliers and my bead, which I really don't want. The only way to combat that, there's no perfect way, is to take a little bit of the bend out. So I'm going to straighten it just a little bit. Then I can get it a little closer to the bead. Slide it down that 3/4 of the way, and I'll show you how to correct it the rest of the way. Bring my wire over the top of my pliers and down the side till it's running parallel with the beads. Open my pliers, reposition, close back down, and bring that under the pliers and over the top of the bead. So this is what I was saying about the little space. There's that little space in there that I don't want. So the way to correct that is just go back in with my pliers and turn my loop until it bumps up against the bead, like that. Here we go. Yes. So then I'm going to go back to my square pliers and do a wrap. A bit closer. There we go. Right here at the bottom of my loop. And right, the next loop, the next wrap goes above that first wrap. And remember, we're not wrapping around the wire, we're wrapping up the front and back of the loop. So going right above that last wrap, I like to turn it so I can see where my wires are being placed. And again, I'm not pulling on my wire. I'm just folding it across. This wire is very, very easy to manipulate, so there's no reason to pull and tug. I'm just placing my wire and across and across. Every once in a while, I want to check, make sure everything's as neat and tidy as I can get it. Bring that across. And keep doing this. It's a little out of whack there. Let's correct that. That's better. Okay. Bring it across. And let's see the other side. I think I can do one more. Yes. Actually, I think that's it. Yes. So this is my last one. Let me push that down a little bit. There we go. And this one I will cut off back here, right in the middle of my loop, like I did the first one. Snip that off. Doesn't want to go. There we go. And then push this little end down inside the funnel. Get down there. Well, first of all, it's not in the middle. I do like to cut that so that it's right in the middle of my loop. Don't need more than that. Cut that little tip, just a tiny bit. Push that down and inside my little funnel. There we go. And there we have it. There's my little funnel wrap. Isn't that neat? Just something a little different. I love this. Okay, so that's one of my little links that I'm going to use. I wanted to do that one first because it's the most intricate. So let's go on and do the rest of them. I know how I want this to go. So that's going to be the top. This is going to be the next one. This is going to be in between the third one, and then I have two more. So let's go ahead and wrap this little guy, the top one. So I'm going to grab a piece of wire. I just need about 1.5 inches on each end because I'm just going to do a very simple wrap here. Not an intricate one. I'm just going to wrap a couple of times at the top of the bead. So whatever number of beads you use, if you're stacking, you want 1.5 inches on each side of your bead. So if I have a bead that's 1/2 inch, then I need 3 more inches. So that's 3.5 inches that I need in order to wrap. If you have 1 inch, then you're going to need 4 inches. So just 1.5 inches for each of your loops and your wraps. And let's measure that. Bend my wire back, slide my wire down about 1/4 of the way down my pliers, and I want my pliers to the short tail of wire to be inside my pliers. Okay, the other one is going straight down. So I'm going to bring my wire over the top, down the side of my pliers until it's running parallel with the other wire. Reposition my pliers and bring that short tail under my pliers and across. Like so. So this is what I have. Got my little guy with this little scarf on. I'm going to switch it to my square pliers. and just put a couple of wraps under here. And this time I'm wrapping the wire on top of itself because, again, some of these beads have big holes in them, and I want to make sure that the um, spiral on top is big enough to support the bead and that the hole won't slide down over the wrap. So I'm just going to wrap it a couple of times around. Like so. And then cut off what I don't need. It's that little tip. And then if the tip is too short to hold on to, grab something that you can cut it down into so that it doesn't go flying across the rim. I'm just gonna cut it down into my little spool here. If you have a beadboard, you can cut it into one of the pockets. Or if you have something like this little container, you can cut it into that. But just something that will control where those little tips go. And once I've done that, I'm going to push my little end down against the rest of the wires so it's not sticking out. Then I'm going to slide on my bead. There's the little hole. There it is. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. I'm going to make another loop. And my wire back right at the top of the bead. I have my round nose pliers, slide my wire about a quarter of the way down my pliers. Get as close as I can to the bend. Bring that wire over the top, down the side of my bead. Hold on to everything. Reposition my pliers and bring the wire between the bead and the pliers. I'm going to check. Both of these loops look about the same size. This one looks a little smaller, so I'm going to go back in and widen it out a little bit. You check. Looks pretty good. Yeah. So let's go ahead and grab my square pliers and wrap. This one doesn't have a big hole in it, so it doesn't need too many wraps. Wrap around there a couple of times. Clip off the excess. And push down that little end. Nice and snug. Okay, there's that one. So now I'm going to do a stack. Let's do a stack of beads here. Yeah. So I'm going to grab another piece of wire. This is probably going to be about an inch, maybe a little less. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself 4 inches of wire for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully I don't have to cut too much off because you know me, I hate waste. And my wire, slide my pliers onto my wire. My short tail is right there in between the pliers. Bring that tail over the top and down the side. Hold on to my wire, really reposition the pliers and bring the wire under and across. Yeah, it's this little guy's a little off center, so I'm going to roll it until my loop is right there on top of the long stem that I've got sticking out here. There we go. It should look like a little guy with a scarf. Okay, grab my round plier, my square pliers, and wrap. This doesn't have too big a hole in it, so I'm going to just give it a couple of wraps. Just give it a couple of wraps around there. And Turn on the rest. Not too much waste going on here. I like that. I like it a lot. Hold on to that tip. Get rid of that end. And push down that little tip there. Put my bead on. Nice. My second bead and my third bead. And let's make another loop. This little hole's a little bigger, so I'm going to give it an extra wrap instead of cutting the end off. Round nose pliers. Slide that down about a quarter of the way down my pliers. Scooch it over just a little more. There we go. Make my loop. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's cut the tail off. It's long enough for me to hold. And push that little end down. This bead's really neat because the wrap looks like it's a continuation of the bead. Isn't that neat? Yeah. Okay. So that's my second one. So this is how I'm looking so far. One, two. Oops, you're number two. Yeah, no, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Look at me. So I'm going to do 2 more. Yeah. Go ahead and do this one. Yeah. Okay, again, that's probably going to be a good inch. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this one off camera because you've already seen me do a stacked one. There's no reason for you to have to watch me do that again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera in the interest of time. Okay, so that one is wrapped. My last one, I'm going to use a head pin. So it's the same thing, except I'm not gonna do a simple loop. I'm not going to wrap it because I don't need to. Again, if you use a head pin and you have a bead with a large hole, you might want to switch that and use a different one that doesn't have a large hole. This would be fine too. But just be aware that some beads, the drill point on some beads is too large for a head pin, and you need to make allowances for that. I have to move things out of the way when I'm trying to focus because this camera tries to focus on everything and then it focuses on nothing. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna use this one first and this one in the middle. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful carving on that one? That's beautifully cast. I love it. And this one on top, that's gorgeous too. These are all beautiful. I love them. Pretty earrings. Anyway, getting off topic. Okay, so now all I need to do, since this is going to be the bottom of my drop, I just need to bend back my wire, just like I did with the 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to cut this down to about 1/2 inch because I'm just going to make a simple loop. Stick that off, put that to the side. These are little pieces are big enough, so I might be able to use them later. So I'm not going to cry too much over that. Grab my round nose pliers, slide the wire about 1/4 of the way down my pliers. I always say pliers are not all created equal, so you're going to need to adjust to your own pliers to determine what point will make what size loop, what point on your pliers will make what size loop. Obviously, the further back you go, the bigger your loop's going to go. So let's go ahead and make my loop. Just rotate until that tip touches the rest of the wire. I want to make sure it's completely closed up. Here we go. A little bit more. Yeah. There. So now here is going to be my drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I didn't really need this many. I just wanted this many because why not? Makes it a little bit longer and interesting. Yeah. So now all I need to do is put them together. And how am I going to do that? Jump rings, jump rings. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to grab a jump ring and show you the proper way to open it. So the proper way to open a jump ring is to just grab, there's several ways really. You want to find the opening, which is right there. I'm going to take one plier and hold on to it on one side. And then I'm going to take the other plier and place it on the other side of the opening and twist, just like that. Just twist it open. Very simple. Why are you not focusing? Oh, yes, there you go. And what you don't want to ever do is pull the tips away from each other, because when you do that, it will ruin the circular shape. You always want to twist it or put one plier on one side. Okay, almost done. 1 minute. Put one plier on one side. You can take your thumb and push down on the other side if you want to do that. Or you can take both hands and just twist it open that way. So I've got several of these open already. Let's go ahead and attach everything. So I'm going to start with the bottom. Grab a jump ring. Whatever my bottom link is going to be, I'll put that on the jump ring. And then the next one in line, I will put that one also on the jump ring and close it. Check to make sure the little tips are right against each other. Might need to finagle it just a little bit. Until the tips are meeting. Not overlapping, but meeting. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. So then I'm going to grab my third one which is this fancy schmancy one that I did. Grab a jump ring, slide the link that I've already done on the jump ring and the middle one also on the jump ring, and close it. Just twist it back in the opposite direction. Oops, until it's closed. Let me check that. Yeah, make sure those little tips are together. Nice and snug. There we go. Let's grab the next one and do the same thing. Slide that on. Slide the other one on. Close it up. And the last one. There we go. Nice. So there is my drop. And that is going to go on a little centerpiece. Neat, huh? So how are we going to get that on? Like another jump ring, of course. Okay, slide that on the jump ring and then slide the jump ring in between the little beads. We need to open that up a little bit more to get it on there. Come on. Again, another thing that you're going to have to finagle a little bit. Slide that in there. And close it. A lot of moving parts here. Well, not moving parts, but a lot of parts. Here we go. Close that up. There. Yay. There it is. So now all I need to do is put it on some chain. So what I've done, you decide how long you want your chain to be. And I decided to go with an 18 inches. So you could just put it on here if you want, but I've decided to embellish my chain and add another one of these little guys on in the middle, not in the middle, but somewhere along your chain. You can decide where you want this to fall. You can put more than one on there if you want. I decided to put one on. So what I've done here is just cut it about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the end. That's going to attach to my focal piece. I'm going to cut that off. And you can either measure it against the other piece, against each other, or you can count the little links, whichever way is easiest for you to make sure that these are even. Right, so we cut right there. Cut that little link. And I always put my hand over it so that the little pieces won't go flying everywhere. See that? Little pieces. Let's move those out of the way. And attach. How do I attach? Jump rings. Grab a jump ring. Attach the jump ring to one end of the last loop of my chain and add my embellishment, my little beaded link onto the jump ring and close. Make sure those tips are together, just meeting each other. Okay. And then grab another jump ring. Find the last link in the long chain. Slide it on the jump ring and slide the other side of my beaded link onto the jump ring and close. There we go. So that is going to be my chain. And let's go ahead and attach it. Now, see how my jump ring is sliding? Don't panic. It's not going to go over your beads. It might slide back and forth a little bit when you're not wearing it, but gravity is going to keep it in the center. You know, somebody will come back to me and say, mine keeps moving. Yes, it will, but the gravity will save you. So let's go ahead and use another jump ring to attach my chain to my centerpiece. Okay, the last link in my short chain, put that on the jump ring and attach the jump ring to the centerpiece. Just slide that little loop into the jump ring and close. If you're able to squeeze it closed, great. And then make whatever adjustments you need to with your pliers. Here we go. Let's do the other side. Grab a jump ring. Slide on the last link of my chain and attach it to my focal piece. And close. There we go. So there is my necklace. The only thing that's left for me to do is put my clasp on. So I'm going to grab a lobster clasp and a couple more jump rings. Couple of those. Okay, grab my square pliers and my other pliers, twist my jump ring open, slide my last link of the chain that's going to go around the back of my neck onto my jump ring and add my lobster clasp. Close that up. And grab one more jump ring. And add that to the other side of my chain. Close it. And we have a necklace. Let's put it on a display and see what it looks like. There it is. There is our metal necklace. Not too heavy because we kind of tempered it with other things so that we could keep it down, but still have the metal as a focal point. That's neat. I like it. So there we go. So I wanted to show you how you can do that. I wanted to use those metals that I got from Greece, but you can also use any spacer beads that you have. You don't have to have anything special for this. It's just a way. You know how you use up so many of them, and then you have them left, and you go, "What am I going to do with these odds and ends?" This is what you can do with the odds and ends, and you can make something truly gorgeous out of those. So I wanted to show you just a little something as I was also honoring Greek Heritage Month, and I think we've done that today. So I hope you like this. Let me know one way or the other if you like the tutorial, if you like the design, if you had any problems, please get in contact with me at jewelrygen20, jewelrygen20 at gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20 at gmail.com. You can send me pictures of what you make there. I love to see them. Thank you, everybody who does that. You can also send me pictures to the library Facebook page, as well as leaving comments at facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's spelled DEKALB or you can leave comments on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. You need to use the entire moniker, which is youtube.com/DEKALB COUNTYPUBLICLIBRARY. Please get in touch with me because I really, really do love to hear from you. Let me know where you're coming from. I don't need your address. I just would like to know what part of the world you're coming from. If you're coming from the United States, if you're coming from another country, whatever. I would love to hear from you. So until next time, have a great week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.